Hey guys, just popping on here real quick. The champagne litter that was Sunny and Peony have just turned 8 weeks a couple days ago, so I thought I'd pop them on and take some weights this morning so I can see where they're at, start evaluating some for potential holding back for breeders. And also we had Rose and Toussaint's foster in that litter, just the one. So we'll take a look and see how he's doing as well. So I have weighed all of the kits that were in this litter. Oh, we don't need to sneak down there. And this one is the foster, in fact, that is Rose and Toussaint's buck. But we're gonna wanna scoot just a little back here. Well, maybe, okay, it's gonna be a little difficult. Yeah, so this is the buck that was Rose and Toussaint's. It was the single one left in that litter of Rose. You know, she had we got down to one. I believe there were two when it was born. One didn't make it, and rather than try to tie her up longer, I had decided to foster this off so I could get her bred back, which did work. You might remember in the more recent video we compared the Rex and the Champagne kits, and that's Rose's. So that management seemed to work really well because she was in good shape. I think she had taken some weight off in pregnancy and with that litter, with this guy's litter. Sorry for the poor camera work. It's kind of a lot. I don't have that many hands. At any rate, yeah, so I think she had gotten in better shape. She was looking a little thin with these guys after delivery, which is not uncommon for her. I've had that kind of issue with her in the past where she gets a little on the lean side, not critically so, but just a little more lean than I would like to see with her. So I did supplement her with just a tiny bit of sunflower seed. Might be a little bit on that one. And as these guys are eating and drinking more themselves, she's come back up. She's looking really good. So this litter will be 4 weeks, I believe, at the end of this week. I'm thinking I'm probably going to breed her back, probably somewhere around this weekend, within the next week or so. I won't remove them from the cage yet. I'll give them another week or two, get them up to 5 or 6 weeks before I wean them, probably closer to 6. But this will keep her in good reproductive condition. Also, even though we've had some hot days, we're pretty comfortable most days. Today is going to be a high of 75, sunny and gorgeous. I'm going to get out to that mess of a garden as soon as I'm done with this, and keep hacking my way along through that. So yeah, while she's in good condition and not overweight, I want to take advantage of that. You know, this litter, she gave me 5 live kits. That's great. Not a bad size litter for a Champagne. We did have one that was DOA. Sorry, I've got a deer fly biting me. Okay. So I'm thinking time to breed her back, keep her healthy, keep her fighting fit. But let's take a look at what the weights were for this set of kits. And I am going to try and put this guy up here in his cage. One-handed. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit of mess. Okay. So yeah, so this is Rose and Toussaint's foster buck. Boy, I'm kind of a mess with the camera today, guys. I'm really sorry about that. He weighed in at 4 pounds and 11 ounces. I'll say this, I'm not back to my normal bookkeeping level that I usually keep. I just haven't hit that rhythm again since we moved. I am keeping records, but they're a little more scattered, relying heavily on my calendar and using the cage tags to keep track. But at least once I get my feet under me, maybe after that garden's planted, I can get this stuff down on paper, so I'll have a more formal record of it. I do want to have a more formal record of this because I am looking heavily to hold back stock from their various litters as replacement breeders. I'm seeing some signs of age on both the bucks and the does. So I really want to at least head in that direction and have something held back. So he was 411, and I've got to say, like, this whole set pretty much are all in the same range. And it's interesting, I was kind of interested to see what the results of this would be, because we do have two completely different sets of genetics mixed in that cage that Peony reared, that she raised, because we had the foster and then we had the 4 that were peonies. So coming down here, this one was a doe, and this one came in, this was the smallest of them. This one came in at 4 pounds 6 ounces. I was kind of looking to see too if there was any correlation between the silvering and the size. My thought being that I'm wondering if the ones that silver out a little earlier than the others, and they're all pretty close, but you do have a little bit of variation, are those ones that mature faster, the bigger ones. And I guess if I had to pick an answer right now, probably not really. You can see this is actually probably one of the more silvered out. We'll see as we move through them, because we've got a lot of silvering on the body, but we've got a lot on the face too. So that's a little more progressed than some of the others, but they're all pretty close as well. So she was the smallest. She is 4 pounds 6 ounces. Not a bad weight at all. And this one here is another doe, but this one is 4 pounds 13 ounces. So, you know, if we're looking for breeding stock, she's gonna win out probably over this one above her, even though the one above her, that's not a bad growth rate at all either. There's nothing to complain about in this set of kits. Moving over here, we've got another buck, and he came in at 4 pounds 12 ounces. Really nice to see, because, you know, a lot of times I'll get the does will be a little heavier than the bucks, but we've got some really good steady weights and kind of on the heavier side for their age in this group. So like I said, another one, this one's 4 pounds 12 ounces, and again, probably a little less silvered out than that one, and maybe there's a male-female connection too. And the only reason I say a little less, even though we see silvering on the face, is on the body there's still more black there. It's kind of really neither here nor there. It was just a curious kind of connection that I kind of was keeping an eye on just to see. But boy, he is a cutie, isn't he? So yeah, we got 4 pounds 12 ounces on that buck. And the final one in this set was also a doe. She was 4 pounds 11 ounces, so just a little bit lighter than our buck there. So these are 8-week weights. Assuming you're targeting, and I know you probably all know, maybe you don't if you're kind of new here and haven't seen a lot of the older videos, but I grow to 16 weeks because we like a heavier carcass, because I debone and break them down for a lot of grinds and sausage, and because we're a large family, and I like the firmer meat that I get at like an older age, say a 14 to 16 week. I did once we started harvesting some 5-pound live weights along with the 16 weekers one time, and my husband came to me and was like, why are we harvesting this kit right now? Like, this doesn't look like much of a kit. Now, part of that, actually it's almost completely perspective, because we were so used to butchering the 16-week-old animals. So obviously it's going to look quite a bit different. But again, you know, that's for our use. And I've been asked that question, and I've answered that question actually both on the website in an article and here in a video on our YouTube page, just talking about why I personally choose to do that. Again, everybody should know that, you know, there is no hard and fast rule, even though a lot of people will state it like it's a hard and fast rule. It's not. You know, you can harvest your rabbits at any age. As a matter of fact, this set has a little bit gotten away from me because of everything we've gone on, and these guys are actually 20 weeks next week. So that's older than I ever do. Now, there's a reason they're kind of here. I'll probably approach that in another video. Part of it is just, it's mostly, almost completely, just life getting away from us. But I've also been toying around with the idea of kind of just a selective, hardy, don't care what they are, meat mutt, building that up. Haven't entirely decided on whether I'm going to go full bore on that, but that's part of the reason they're here. Is just that to give me something to start working with if I decide to go in that direction even a little bit. But, you know, as I said, like some of my does and stuff are getting older. I haven't quite got my feet under me finding, you know, the more reliable breeders or whatever. Not to say I haven't found decent breeders, just I haven't scoped out the whole local situation up here since we've moved. So at least this can keep me in business. You know, even if I just pick a doe from these guys and decide to cross up with one, or vice versa, keep a buck, cross it up with the others. Even if it's not my highest performing animal, at least it's meat on the table. So that's part of the reason they're still here. I'll probably pop some of them on the scale in the next week or so and see where we're at with them, more with an eye towards whether or not I hold any back than really seeing what their performance and growth is. And 20 weeks, I like nice round 4-week numbers, so that would be a good time to do that. So, you know, closing up on the champagnes, this group of 5, like I said, was interesting to see, and they were all very consistent. The least consistent that I had was this little doe here, and I shouldn't even really call her little. That's not really fair to call a rabbit that's 4 pounds 6 ounces at 8 weeks old little. You know, where most people's target is 5 pounds live weight by 10 weeks old, and I don't have a doubt that every single one of these is going to be there and beyond that. So you know, all looking in good shape. The other thing I wanted to mention is that, you know, obviously quick growth rates. I am only feeding pellets with an occasional little treat of some sunflower seeds or oats mixed in there in the past, and typically I feed hay. I don't have quite the hay resource that I had when I was in Massachusetts. When I was in Massachusetts, a lot of the reason I fed hay was that I didn't really have to buy it because we were friendly with the farmer up the road, kind of pseudo family members there, and we traded a lot of labor for hay. So, you know, we'd help stack his bales in his barn, and then he would give us hay. We loved it. It was a real family and community event with the neighbors. A lot of history there. It was great, but I don't have that resource anymore. And yes, hay is still cheaper than pellets, and I did feed some hay when I came up here, but I haven't found an awesome source for hay yet that I love. To be fair, I have really not gone directly to the area farmers, but some of the bales that I've been able to quickly access locally through the feed stores and stuff, some of them were fine, some of them were really nice, some of them weren't. Kind of how it goes sometimes. A little more dust and stuff in there than I would have liked to see. So I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to stick with the pellets for now. I'll probably get back to hay, but maybe not. We'll see how it goes. Again, there's a video on that too where I discuss, you know, do you have to feed hay to your meat rabbits? Well, I think this is pretty obvious. No, you don't have to. Are there benefits? Yeah, I believe there are benefits to it, but you can also be just as beneficial on just a good quality pellet. I do want to add in there, I don't want to cut up like any of the farms or the sources that I've had here. I haven't explored enough of them to even be fair doing that. But I also suspect that part of the problem I had with the hay was the dustiness, and they've been in a drought here. It was a drought last year. We're not out of the drought yet. We're doing pretty well. We've gotten some rain. But like as far as your water table and stuff goes, it's really not back up to snuff. So, you know, sometimes that results in dustier hay, whether that's dust picked up from the field, pollen, just breakdown of the hay because it's more brittle when it's made. You know, those are all possibilities. So these guys are doing this just on a pellet. And the one thing that I did want to add was that so far, I have not seen any of the diarrhea and enteritis issues that we suffered from last year. Now, it was kind of over a year ago, and talked about this a little bit in some of the videos about how, you know, we were going through those wild temperature swings in the late winter and spring. And I do kind of attribute that to being part of that problem. So this could be the hardiness of the litter. It could be that I've had more stable weather conditions through the winter, spring, and now into the summer. I think stable conditions are just a lot more easy for the animals to deal with than those crazy wild swings. So that's all been a good thing. So I'm gonna close it out here. Just thought we'd take a look. Keep on seeing what they're doing. You know, let me know in the comments how yours is. I was just going to show you this guy who was doing that, like scare the crap out of the rabbit breeder, sleeping on its side, just chilling out. But you know how you walk in and there's always, especially this time of year, there always seems to be one that just wants to scare you. That was just doing that. So that's it. That's what I've got for you today. Come on over to meetrabbits.org, see what we've got for articles there. Jump on the comments. Let me know how your summer's going, and I hope it's going great and that you're having these kind of good results too.